Hello again, Hiram College Moodle users. This is our second video in the Quizzes in Moodle series that I'm creating here. If you just watched the first video, you know now how to create a question bank. Now we are going to create the quiz for our students. So let's get started. Okay. So as with this first video, I'm going to be using my drug use and abuse class as an example. Again, this is offered in my 3-week, and we use quizzes quite heavily in order to make most of our time that we have in class. Okay. So to add a quiz, we first need to turn our editing on. And once you do that, you see a lot more options that pop up. Okay. Now to add a quiz, you simply go to the link that says Add an Activity or Resource. And you get a pop-up box that gives you several different options of what you can add to your course. Okay. As with most pop-up boxes in Moodle, if you select an item, you get a description off to the side. Okay. Now again, we want to add a quiz. Just scroll down a little bit, and we hit Add. And this will take you to your edit settings. Okay. Now, with our newest Moodle upgrade, all of our options tend to be collapsed like this, and we do want to be able to make adjustments to a lot of our settings. So I like to just expand all of my options and then be able to scroll through what I want. Okay. All right, so first you want to give your quiz some kind of meaningful name. Quiz 1, Quiz 2 usually works, so we'll just give it a default name like that. I'll do Quiz A just so it's not confusing with the other ones I have on that page. Okay. And then in the next box, you can give it a description. So usually this is where I like to put just general instructions that I have for my students. Maybe when the quiz is due, how much time they have, just general information that is helpful for them. So general info and instructions go here. Okay, so once you're satisfied with what you have in there, you can scroll down. And then you have, in this first box, different timing options. Okay? So you can set up the quiz to be available at some time. So if you don't want them to take the quiz until maybe after the class that you have done, then you would set it up to begin maybe within a half hour or so after that class ends. Okay? And then a closing time. So if you want to have them make sure they have that quiz done before your next class session, select a time that makes sense there. You can also impose some kind of time limit. So if you want them to be able to complete your quiz within maybe 30 minutes, you can do that. Okay. Keep in mind that if you do have a specific time that you want the quiz to be closed, or a certain time limit that you want to impose on your quiz, you do need to tell Moodle how you want it to behave if there's any kind of open attempt when the time expires. Okay. The harshest one is they have to be completely done with it by the time the time expires, or it's not counted at all. So here it's basically they submit it or they don't. Okay. You can give a grace period, so they can still have time to actually hit submit, and you can determine what that grace period would be, but it doesn't allow them to answer any more questions. Or if there's any kind of open attempt, it just does an automatic submission. And that's usually just what I choose. So once they complete it, or once that time runs out, then it automatically gets popped into Moodle for me to grade, or for Moodle to grade automatically. All right, so once you have chosen those options, okay, you also need to tell Moodle where to send that grade. Okay, so if you've already created your gradebook categories, you'll have different options here. So I already have a category devoted to quizzes and exams, so I would select that. You also want to tell Moodle how many times you're going to allow your students to take their quiz. So unlimited means that they can take it over and over and over again until they are happy with their answers. So for some pedagogies, that makes a lot of sense. I typically only allow my students one shot, and that's mainly because I allow my students to do open book quizzes, because I assume they're probably going to do that anyways. This is basically a time for them to review the material. They get one attempt to do that. Okay. However, if you choose 2 or more or unlimited options, you'll have this option of what attempt will actually receive the grade. So if you want to give them unlimited options so they can kind of learn from their errors, you can still just take their grade from their very first attempt. So even though they might improve in their retention and information, their actual score would just be the first attempt. Okay. You can also tell Moodle how you want the quiz layout to be. So you can have it as it is shown on the edit screen as you add questions, or as they are shuffled randomly. Okay. And then also, if you have more than one question, you can say where or how many questions you want on each page. Okay. So I typically just have all the questions show up on one page, and I like to shuffle them randomly just to keep it mixed up between students. Okay. And then another option, as you can see, you have several options here. You can tell Moodle how you want the questions, individual questions, to behave. So this is more important for if you're doing a lot of multiple choice questions, and this will allow your options, so like A, B, and C might differ between students. Okay. And then next we have review options, and this is going to give feedback to the students at different times. Okay, so the default is just they'll get all of their information, whether or not they got the question right or wrong, any kind of feedback they have, what the correct answer is after that quiz is closed. So feel free to make adjustments if you want them to have feedback sooner than that. Okay. Right. And then these other options are more important for if you are going to allow them to do additional attempts. You can require a password, you can enforce some kind of delay between their attempts, so choose options that make the most sense for what you're doing. Okay. And then this next section here, you can provide feedback at different levels of performance. I usually leave that blank because we discuss our quizzes in class, so it's not as helpful to have that feedback there. Okay. One area I might caution you against even touching is this restrict access. So if you're going to set a open and close time for your quiz, then it'll keep students from taking a quiz before it's open or taking a quiz after it's closed. If you restrict access, then you're not allowed to even go in and look at their attempt after it's closed. So if you want them to be able to review quizzes later on to study for exams, restrict access really isn't helpful. So I would caution against using that. Alright, so once you're happy with all of your editing selections, and if you want more information about what the different editing options are, as always, the Moodle Docs for this page link will take you to a page that will give you much more detailed information than this quick little snapshot I gave you. Okay. So again, once you're done, you want to go ahead and click Save and Display. And this will take you to a general page that just reminds you, hey, you haven't added any questions yet. So to add questions to your quiz, you want to select Edit Quiz. Okay. And this will allow you to pull questions from the question bank that you created earlier. Okay. So here you can choose from different categories. Okay. Or if you choose the default, it can show multiple questions, but if you go by categories, that tends to be more helpful. Okay. So I'm going to go with that new category that I created in the previous video. Okay. And you'll see a list populate of all the questions that I added before. Okay. Now you can pick and choose individual questions. Again, that is why I showed you that it's helpful to have a more descriptive title for each question in that question name blank, just so you have an idea of what is in each question. Another option you can have, and if you want to make it so it's kind of free-for-all for all of your questions here, okay. At the bottom you can add in random questions. So let's say I want to add in just 5 random questions from this category. Okay, so I would select that number, hit Add to Quiz, okay, and we'll see that any kind of random question would appear. Okay, so if you're wanting to make it so students kind of have an equal opportunity to get multiple questions within that category, it will set it up that way. So not every student is going to get the exact same quiz, but they might get the same general gist of content that you've covered and you want to quiz them on. So it's a nice option to have there. All right, so if you want to add an additional question, or you decided you wanted to create a new question, you can click on Add a Question, and that will give you the option to create your own again, like I showed you in that first quiz video. Okay. One last thing for your quiz, you can also change how much each question is worth. So let's say I want to make this first question worth 2 points. You select that and hit Save. Okay. Maybe I want to change what the maximum grade is for the quiz. Okay, so let's say I've got it out of, it tells you what your current total marks are. Okay, so maybe I want to make that quiz out of 6 points. Just make those changes and hit Save. Okay. And your quiz is ready to go. Now the only thing I don't like about this is that there's no obvious kind of end, submit, save, done kind of button to push. Basically once you're done kind of fiddling around with adding questions in, you're basically ready to go. Okay, so if we go back out to our course, we can click on the quiz we created, okay, and then you can see that we do now have a quiz that's available, and if you want, you can preview that quiz. Begin your attempt. Okay. And that gives you an idea of what your students will see when they take the quiz. Okay. And that is the basic gist of how you will create a quiz in Moodle. I hope this has been helpful. Stick around for the next video and we'll show you how to do scoring and other grading changes in your quizzes.